Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, your host, and I'm here to talk about CPS and get your children back, how to fight CPS and get your children back. And as most of you have known, I've been doing these podcasts for quite some time, and I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week. That's 14 podcasts. I'm from Southern California, and I also have been involved with CPS for over 14 years. Three of it was when they stole my children, and I was able to get back two out of the three. But yes, CPS is probably the awful thing you're going through. And I feel for you. I'm sensitive. I've been there. I've lost my home due to CPS. I used up all my money that I had saved with the CPS. They've taken all my money. And on top of that, when you lose your home, and I had so many things happen, a perfect storm when I got involved with CPS, they took advantage of me and held me down under for so long, for so long. I still hurting even today after he first started getting involved when I lost my job. Yes, I've lost my job and lost it late in life at the age of 60. And there's too many people out there that think that old people can't work. I don't know what they're saying. I know that some people do, but anyway, um, secured Shukika. DHS took my kids for a legal alleged domestic that was just dismissed and refused to give back your children. Well, hopefully you have an attorney there, secure. What city and state are you from? And what are the allegations? Because if your case has been dismissed, the domestic violence is the criminal one. If that's been dismissed, you'll need to enter into court a petition, a 388 petition. Your attorney should know that. If you don't have one, your public defender should know it. But it's a 388 petition. Look it online. It's something you enter the court because some changes happened. You have now been free of your domestic charges, and you should have the paperwork to submit to the court via that 388. That alone will help you change your plans. And so I'd like to know what city and state and what the allegations were. I'll continue on. So I've been there. I know how it feels and so forth. Now, if you want to interact with the show, which I hope you do, because we already have our first comment here from Secure, is that you can write a comment to me. I'll read it, and then I can display it here. I'll put this display up here on the show there, and I um, would encourage you all to talk about your case to see if I can help you. Others listening that might be able to help you. It's a horrible thing that you're involved in. CPS is the most complex um, situation there is. Now, if you want to talk about your case right now, you can call in my office number 626-698-0990. It's operational during this hour that I'm doing my podcast. That's 626-698-0990. Call in, I'll put you live on the show. I'll use the speakerphone, and they won't be able to see you, but they'll be able to hear you, and you can make your comments, and I try to help you with comments back. Um, if you don't feel like talking right now, but like to talk in the future, you want to call 888-888-6582. That's my other office phone. That'll take you there. Make sure you tell them when they answer it that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to schedule one of my 14 shows, a morning show, an afternoon show, a Saturday, Tuesday, whatever show you want to. And my producer will contact you and explain to you what you do as a guest and so forth. So that's 888-888-6582. Now I'm going to give you my first rule as I do all the time. Rule number one, you get an attorney. Attorney is very, very important. It's probably the most important thing you ever do about your CPS case. Just imagine you have open heart surgery that needs to be done. Are you going to try to do it yourself? or you get a layperson to do it. No, you're going to get a professional doctor who's gone to school and done an internship and done all the medical things right to, and he's been a mentor doctor and so forth. He knows how to do an open heart surgery. And that is how the CPS case is. For some of you that don't know what is CPS stands for Child Protection Services. In other places, they call it DHS, Department of Health Services. Anyway, it's all part of the social service that the federal government has enacted in each of the states. And the sole purpose of Child Protection Service, the branch of social service, is to protect our children from neglect and abuse. Also, it's supposed to be about family reunification, how they get together after hiccups and how they get the family back together. CPS must encourage family members to be a part of the child's life. But lately, they've done just the opposite. They forgot all about family reunification, and all they want to do is steal your children. They're like a legal, you know, um, legal thing where they can steal your children. I mean, we have exploitation of children. We have people all the time stealing our children, but CPS gets away with it. Why? Because they want to make money. It's $1 billion business. The longer they keep your child with them or into foster care, the more money they're going to make. So they're looking at the money situation, not family reunification or what's best for the kids. That's the sad thing. Okay, Secure, you're from Fort Madison, Iowa. I do have a paid attorney. Oh, good. Allegations denied of the critical core and emotional abuse because the alleged domestic also was allegations of drug use. Okay, so Secure says this. Um, so you have an allegation of drug use. Are you finished with your drug use plan, your program there? Because I got one visit a week for 2 hours. Act like I'm a horrible person. They say they want reunification, but they continue to tear the family apart. That's a typical MO of child protection services. Even in Iowa, in a small town called Madison, Iowa, CPS has really gotten corrupt. And I can say that from firsthand knowledge here in Southern California and now Madison, Ohio. I can also say it's happened in York, Pennsylvania. It's in Columbus, South Carolina. It's, in New York. It's in Maine. And um, it is hard to secure. Um, they do want to tear the family apart. They don't. They want to alienate your kids, and alienation is wrong. Alienation should never alienate anybody from anything there. So if you want to call in, call at 626-698-0990. And if you're not ready to talk, you want to call 888-888-6582 to schedule a time that'd be best suited for you. One of my 14 shows. You can make that and be a guest speaker. I'd love to hear from you. Your comments, by the way, make sure that you give your city and state. Also, if countries are listening, because we've had Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, and Ghana all talk about CPS matters. So it's a worldwide issue. CPS is important. There's horror stories of kids being abused. There's nothing about that. But they need to be equal in treating the kids, meaning their sole purpose should be to protect the kids, but also family reunification. There's a lot of false allegations going out there. I was accused by a layperson, family members, that I was not taking care of my children, my wife and I. And her parents were instigators behind it. We did not know that her family was trying to destroy our family when I lost my job. They did that for 5 years. Constant harassment, constantly call in, and CPS would look at it and then found it was unfounded. They have 24 hours to respond to an allegation, whether it's true or not. They believe the allegation is true, you are guilty till you're proven innocent. It's different than other courts of law. So, with that being said, the the allegations, not only come from lay people, they come from professionals, teachers, policemen, firemen, doctors, nurses, etc. Anybody that has a professional job that involves children is required by law to report negligence or abuse. So if they're a teacher and they observe in classroom a child with burnt fingers, they're going to call in CPS and say, I have a child in the class that has burnt fingers. And then the parent will have to answer to it. They're required by law. Now, when you are taken into CPS, they're supposed to get the case resolved in 48 days. 48 days is the magic number. In my case, it was 3 years. And with other people, I've heard of 8 years, 9 years. They're still going on. So I feel for you, Sakir. And so they are tearing the family apart. They're trying to alienate your children from you. And I don't know if you still have your spouse or your partner, but you know, I'm here to help and whatever like that. Now, I was just talking about rule number 1, and that is to get an attorney. I mentioned about a doctor. You need a doctor to do open heart surgery. You need an attorney to deal with child protection services. They have to know how to navigate and go through the laws of CPS. CPS is very, very deceptive. They're not transparent. They lie, and their whole goal is to make money off your children. It's sad, but that's the truth. And that's how it was for me in Southern California, and the lady there in Madison, Iowa, and all the other places. Over 100 some people across the country have a similar problem with CPS. Now, if you did do a mistake, they're supposed to come back. That's where the lawyer will help you. And if you want some free legal advice, I have somebody right here. The law firm that is producing the show is Vincent W. Davis and Associates. They're comprised of lawyers who has expertise in many areas of law, divorce, layoffs, um, criminal matters, traffic matters, whatever the case may be. And the attorney you want is a dependents attorney, a family law attorney, someone that deals with juveniles and family. And we have such an attorney. His name is Vincent W. Davis. Very professional lawyer with many, many years of fighting CPS and getting their kids back. He has won cases. In fact, he's sued CPS on a civil suit and won the case. He's done that several times. So he right now is offering a free 30-minute to an hour consultation. I mean, free legal advice for an hour. Wow, that's unheard of. To schedule his time, you want to call in at 888-888-6582. Make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to schedule a time with Mr. Davis. At the lower part of my screen is a ticket, and it mentions the same thing. Schedule your private consultation and coaching. Call with the CP strategy consultant, Vince Davis, up to 30 minutes or an hour. Check the link below. So there's a link that shows his calendar. You look it up and you find what is available. He's offering free of charge. Just make sure you say Bob Pace sent you. And when you see Mr. Davis, make sure that you've said to him that you've sent me, that Bob Pace sent him. So you talk to Mr. Davis. And not too many attorneys are offering such a thing. So I strongly recommend that you call in. Again, if any of you want to speak right now, I'm open to it. We have, 45 minutes left of the show time. So you can call in at 626-698-0990 and be our guest speaker today. From time to time, I do have guest speakers, which makes it go a little bit easier, and it's a different subject matter than still hearing about my story. And I like to talk about rule number 2. Rule number 2 is taking notes. That is so critical in this case. You need to get a notebook. Go out and buy a notebook. And if you want to use your computer, that's fine, or your phone, but you need to have someplace to record notes. And what you want to record is the date and time that the incident happened. There'll be an incident that's related to CPS. You need to record it. So you record the date and time, and also you record who was involved, what social workers, what policemen, your children, your partner, whatever it is. You write down all the people involved. Then you put down what the incident was about, such as it came to my home and took my child, or other things like that. And then you want to put the result, the outcome of the incident. The reason why this is important, because if your case goes longer than, say, a couple of weeks, it goes into months, into years, then you need to refer to your notes. Your notes will help you in your case. You need to make sure you take good notes and do it anytime you get involved in a CPS matter, any incident. So you take good notes. Now, rule number 3 is very important, and it's where you do not talk to a CPS worker or a policeman. It's a yes/no kind of answers. If they say, "Hi, can we talk to you?" You say no. And if they say, "Can we come into your home?" you say no. And if they keep persisting, you say, "Contact my attorney at such and such a number," or "My attorney will contact you. What is your number?" The main thing is not talk to them and not have them into your home until you speak to your attorney. They will advise you what to do and what not to do. And because once you let them in your home, you open up Pandora's box, and there'll be all kinds of terrible issues against you, terrible issues. So, with that being said, um, you just not, and the same thing goes for a policeman. Don't think the policeman, even though they look threatening to you, you don't you don't have to really um, um, let them in. The police, they have to. They need a search warrant. They need a court-ordered search warrant, and that warrant will say what they can do and not do, what they're investigating, what the person investigating, the home they're investigating. That information has got to be on that warrant, and they got to show it to you. If they say, "Well, we got it," and there's no date on there, that means they got it on the weekend, and the court's not open the weekend. So you got to make sure it's signed. Make sure it's signed, and do exactly as it says in there. Produce what person or that person. You're not supposed to take your children without a court warrant, and it has to be a really extreme case. They're hoping to get your permission. See, once they got your permission, they can take your children. But unless a criminal act's taking place or a severity, they can't interfere with you if you say, "No, this is my castle," and it is bad. Secure, is there anything more you'd like to ask, or would you like to call in, or anything on that? Um, so I've told you the 3 rules. And if you want to watch other podcasts of me, it goes into my history of my case. But I kind of want to talk about, you know, things that you're going through. And it's kind of hard to know exactly what, but now allegations are the first thing that happened in your case. And these allegations, may be true or false, because family members do use false allegations to get possessions of your children for alternative motives. So, with that being said, um, it is hard. It is very, very hard when you're dealing with family members being involved. My case was that too. It was a very nightmare, because you're trying to disprove something that isn't true. Um, you're trying to disprove anything that isn't true. So these allegations are in forms of professional or lay people, and they have to be investigated within 24 hours. That's mandated by law. And they'll do their best to get into your home, to get you further into trouble, and to get your kids taken away from you. Their goal is they have the kids in foster care till the kids reach 18. Then they can get all this money per child per month from the state and federal government. There's been reports of $20,000 per child, which is excessively too much for a child's expenses. And so it really is. It's sad that it's become $1 billion business, and it's all about money. It isn't about family reunification or help out the family members. So I feel sorry for you on that, but that's the reality. That's the reality. So the allegations need to be disproved, and they're going to gather up evidence to do so. And here's something else that um, uh, I want to tell you about the welfare code, the health and welfare code of 300B. It's so important that you look at the welfare and institution code. A child comes under the welfare and institution code section 300B if the child has, and this is what I want to say, has suffered or there's substantial risk the child will suffer. So, has a child suffered neglect or abuse? Is there a substantial risk that the child will continue to suffer this? Seriously physical harm. Now, I mean the word serious physical harm or illness as a result of the failure or security of his or her parent or guardian to adequate supervise and protect the child. So that's what they're looking for. And by the inability of the parent or guardian to provide regular care for the child due to the parent's or guardian's mental illness or developmental disability or substance abuse. That's where the drug abuse comes in there. So looking for those things. The child shall continue to be dependent child pursuant to the subsection only so as long as necessary to protect the child from risk of suffering physical uh, um, harm or illness. The three elements for jurisdiction under section 300 subsection B are 1. Neglectful conduct by the parent in one of the specific forms. Causation, serious 1. 2. Causation. 3. Serious physical harm or illness so at the time of the judicial hearing. There's also judicial hearing, not before the hearing, that the child is out at substantial risk of physical harm in the future. Past conduct importance of there is reason to believe that will continue the just supposedly neglect or physical abuses. All right. With this section, the concern is the best interest of the child. If social service agency believes a child at risk, they'll investigate and possibly detain the child. Sometimes in an emergency situation, the social service agency will detain the child and then investigate it if detention is necessary. So there's going to be a detention hearing, and there's a jurisdictional hearing that you do. There's a case plan hearing. Um, if your children are, my children were, supposedly taken out because of the severity or whatever it was. My allegation was strictly neglect because I had taken my parents' belongings, even though it was stacked and everything. The furniture was stacked. It was piled, I guess, too high, and the box was too high, and that's where they said I was neglecting the children. That was all result because I'd lost my job. My parents were dying, and they asked me to help them out to liquidate their assets and help them sell their home, and they wanted everything to be dead in there. So I couldn't really say no to my parents. I wish I'd known about the outcome. I would have. But I broke rule number 3, where I talked to the social workers and I let them in my home. And for 5 years, they're chasing down these allegations. I was able to keep them out of my life. But every couple of months they'd be back in again because they got another report, another report, another report. It's getting so ridiculous that this family, my in-laws, were able to do what they did. That was bad. It hurt my wife, it hurt me, and everything else. So um, that was tough. Um, and as I told you, rule number one, you need that attorney because dependency cases are very serious and complex and requires a knowledgeable attorney who knows dependency rules and requirements. It's so important to know because there's things that can help you with your children. You may not know this, but when your child is taken from you, they should have a court order. And it has to be serious that they did take your child. Also, they need to have a planning meeting to decide where the child will stay while the child is taken from your custody. Now, at first, they may be put in a shelter or a hotel, and that is, the hotel's last resort, but the shelters where they try to put them in there. My kids were lassoed to go into the shelter. It was terrible. It was next door to a prison. It was down from the dependency courts. It was close to there, and it was a very sterile environment. They had no. They had. It was dirty, unorganized, and they had no safe play area because they allowed the bees' hives to infiltrate the yard, and so there's a chance of being stung by bees. Also, they're outside. They can have a prisoner that escapes and gets there, or sits there and looks at them. But that was really tough. That was really really tough. Um, so when they took my children, they put them in that horrible shelter. The play area had a beehive, and it would attack the kids. There was no safe play area. The food was terrible. Supervision was terrible. It was overcrowded and it was dirty. I saw this when I came and visited that night when they took my kids. And one kid was with me when social services enlisted the police department to help them gain entry into my home. And in front of my home, there was the detective who had lured me back to my home. He was out about, and there was two uniformed policemen, five firemen, uh, three social workers, and then there was two uniformed policemen. All these people in there, I thought, boy, something really terrible to go there. And they're all interested in my home. And what they found was just my parents' belongings. I had no money, so I couldn't afford a storage. I was sorting them and going through them, and they had a lot of belongings. And so my bad is to help out my mom and dad. Their bad, CPS could have said, you know what? We'll send a couple guys over and put your stuff in storage. We'll pick up the tab. Did they want to offer that? No, they don't want to offer that. They want to make money off three of my children. I mean, at that time they were 15, 12, and 9, and it was horrible. It was really really horrible. Um, so you don't want your children taken from you unless there's a court order, and that's the same thing getting into your home or anything else or talking to you. Remember that rule number 3. You do not talk to the social worker. You do not do anything there. You need to talk to your attorney for his advice. And that's what you want to do. Um, Also, the visit with my children was temporary until they got a really visit plan. And then at first it was in a group home. And the group home was better than the prisoners at Long Beach. And so it's still tough. It's still tough to think about it and so forth. So you try to avoid your kids, but then you're going to have a safety meeting where you're going to determine where your kids will stay. Try to ask for, if they insist to take your kids, that you stay with a family member. That's the best solution. Now, at this time, I want to talk about the Native American Indians because there's an important act um, that was enacted by the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1979. In that act, it says that the Indian tribe would take care within their tribe, take care of the family, um, and that would be better off because they're not going to be after the child's money, and they know that Indians are very strong about families and so forth. So it's passed in 1979, sometimes referred to as ICWA, but it's the Indian Child Welfare Act. It guarantees that CPS cannot steal the child. The child needs to be turned over to the family tribe. Once CPS has found that the child is a registered tribe member or could be registered. If you're not registered, don't worry. If you can be registered, it will be fine. They'll contact the tribe and so forth. So that's one of the things they'll talk about at the safety meeting. The other thing is where to put your child. What you won't want to do is you don't want foster care. That's the last resort. You don't want foster care, and all you want is a um, um, so if you can stay with a family member like an aunt and uncle, our kids before they went to a group home got to stay with my wife's sister and a husband, but they soon got tired because they thought the case would be over in 48 days. Instead, it was going months and months and then years. So they bailed out of being taking care of the children. So we found a group home, and the group home was just as worse. The group home was run by Boys Town, who know nothing about families with parents. They're only interested in family without parents, and so their whole program suited differently. And it's certainly there. Again, CPS was not trying to get family reunification. It was terrible. It was really, really terrible. At this time, I'd like to remind everybody that if you want to make a comment, please do so. I'd love to have your comments. We've had one today, Secure Shulika from um, Madison, Iowa, and she said that she was cleared of uh, her charges, um, but I wasn't sure if the drug charge was dismissed. And I told her that you need to use a 388 petition form. So if you don't want any comments, that's fine. You can call in. My office number is 626-698-0990. And you can call in and schedule a time. One of my 14 shows will be a guest speaker. I'd love to have you. Um, Now, you can call in right now at 626-698-0990 to be a guest on the show to talk about your case. I love those kind of cases where they'll come in and talk about their case. Now, Secure has been the only one so far this morning has been talking through texting, which is fine, which is okay. The So now you had your planning for your kids. Hopefully, it was with a family member. Ours was at first, but they didn't know it was going to go this long. Also, it's very important that you have an attorney. Rule number one: we have an attorney that will give free legal advice, who has fought CPS and won, who is um, a good attorney to fight. Also, he is a trial attorney. He's a dependency law with many years' experience. He has beaten CPS and gotten the kids back. He also sued CPS and won the civil suit. So he knows how bad um, CPS is. In fact, CPS doesn't like us to exist. Um, so, uh, so now you're at the next stage of doing some programs. It's very important you do the programs of ask. They will give you a plan. And, after they settle where the child's going to stay, they can do a plan, and it should be with family reunification. You have to encourage that. Now, if you have an attorney like Vincent Davis, that's a good thing. Don't forget that he is offering a free 30-minute to an hour consultation, no charge. All you do is say Bob Pace sent you, and when you see Mr. Davis, tell that Bob Pace sent you too. So it's really important that you you take care and get your kids back. It's really hard. It's probably the frustrating thing. So many parents throw their hands up. So many parents are fighting custody battles because their spouse is bailing on them, or the spouse is doing bad things to the kids, and their parents are being. And also, one thing I like to talk about is domestic and verbal violence. Domestic violence has two shapes to it: physical, where you're hitting the person, and then there is the emotional abuse, where you're yelling so loud that it hurts the children's feelings because they love both parents. Don't want to make your kids caught in between of two loving, caring parents. Um, Also, the hard thing about going through this whole case is they do not tell you what's going on until the pickup number. So I encourage all of you to look at the resources. Read that 300, that welfare code. It is so powerful. I wish I knew about it because they took my children when there was not extreme neglect or physical abuse. They deceptive me. They're so notorious, CPS is. They contact the police department who, followed me when I picked up my son from school. And then when after a period of time, he had a black and white policeman pull me over, and that's when he got involved. It was really tricky what they were doing, and I have still to this day don't know why they success on that. But you don't want that because they can do a case against you. The district attorney can file charges against you depending on the detective's investigation. But he was a my detective was bad. My social worker was bad. Their interest wasn't in the uh, children. Excuse me, I'll take some water. I know how hard this is and how you feel right now going through what you're going through. It isn't fair that in your life, me, it was at 60, and then at 65, they stole the kids, and at 68, I got the kids back after I hired an attorney that waited too long. That was a mistake. I hired Vincent Davis, but you should hire an attorney right away. They'll be able to help you so much, and you won't lose that time with your kids. It's hard when they come in. Mr. David has to undo all the things that have happened bad to you because CPS will do so. The workers. One thing I'll tell you about the CPS workers, they're not very well trained. Meaning by that, they don't even have to have a college degree. They can be hired just as they are. And my worker didn't have a college degree. She was given bonuses, and she was very proud of her new eyelashes, her makeup, her new car, and stuff that she got from keeping our children in there. And the sad part is these people are doing family reunification with no mentoring. These social workers need to be mentored. They need to be mentored at least 10 years to know, what a case is. So a young social worker will be mentored with an older social worker who's been doing it for quite some time. And so I'm really sad to tell you that my social worker was terrible. There wasn't a go to family. She didn't know anything about that. She was gloating about all the mean things. She lied on the witness stand too. We caught her an outrageous lie, like they were trying to place my daughter be adopted by my sister's my wife's sister, which was wrong because um, um, had alternative moments, and then they asked her if there was any domestic violence. And of course, the social worker said no, and there was. There was domestic violence, and so the social worker was caught lying. Boy, if you lie in court, they're all over you. But if a social worker lies, they're not. And on top of that, that dependency court is a tragedy for me. The judge in that dependency court was not really qualified. He had a background, just like the social worker. He had a background in claims, auto claims, and damages to cars. Um, he did not have the family law background as a lawyer, stuff like that. And I want to bring up, this is important this time of year because we have elections coming up. Not only are we supposed to elect a president, we also have judges and other positions that are coming up that you need to vote on. And it's very important that you vote on uh, these judges with something to get the family law judge in there. If you don't, it's not going to help you because my judge was so corrupt. It was sad. It was so sad, that judge of mine. Um, so it's really, really important that um, you find out the judge because it can go along and hurt you. You know, there's no question about that. It can go along and hurt you. Now, when you go to court, it's going to be really hard because they got to prove their point, and it seems like the judge will listen to anything they say, which is wrong because, as I say, my judge was corrupt. And in fact, I heard of one case up in Bakersfield where even Vincent couldn't talk to judges, and that was really corrupt on those judges there because those judges um, in Bakersfield were so bad that Vincent had to get out of that situation because they were threatening to send him out there. So I'm telling you, these judges are bad. CPS is bad. There's no question about that. Excuse me a second. Drink some more water. So you have to know what the courtroom environment is. In my case, I wasn't allowed to be in the courtroom. In your case, it may be the same thing. Now, the courtrooms are supposed to be able to hear how your case goes. They brought me into the last few minutes and so forth. And it was really sad because I didn't get to hear how my attorneys performed or anything like that. I tried a public defender at first, and I had to go through several public defenders because they really do not um, have the knowledge that a professional lawyer does about fighting CPS. They're also friends of CPS, friends of the judge. They don't rock things. They're going to do the minimum thing. They're going to make you try to go through. They want to create a camouflage saying you need these programs, that program, so they can keep the child in there. They're supposed to be 40. You need to bring up to 48 days that a case has to be closed because they have to have a good cause to keep it open. And stealing for money is not a good cause. You know, CPS does child trafficking, and they do it legally. And how they do child trafficking, they make allegations that are not true, and they change and defeat everything there, and they put the children into foster care because there are hopes that foster care parents will keep them for the exterior time to they're 18. And so if you have a child at 4 put in there until they're 18, that's 14 years. They're going to collect money every month, every year, you know, for 14 years, which is wrong because they should not be doing that. That's not right. That's not right. And so you need to exercise your rights. Again, you need that rule number one. You need an attorney. Now, I mentioned a 388 earlier. That is a form that if you have something new came up and that was directed towards secured out there who completed her programs, and there was denial there. She should be able to get your children back by having that 388 petition turned in by your attorney. You can try turning yourself, but it's a legal form, and you got to have a proper protocol. If you notice, the court documents always have those lines with numbers, and they have to be really. There's a presentation, you have to know it. So it's hard to fight there. I mean, when I fought in the beginning without an attorney, when I saw something wrong, I'd tell I need to speak to a supervisor. I first tried to start with the social worker, but I got nowhere. So then I spoke to the supervisor. I got nowhere. And this kept going on and on. And I finally said, I need to speak to the top dog of CPS. And he went and met with me, but it went in one ear, went out the other ear. His place was so beautiful. It's the Taj Mahal, state of the art building. And I can see where all the billions of dollars was spent. And it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary when so many of you are poor and homeless out there. I see that all the time. That we should be addressing our homeless issues. We should make sure our people are fed. I know we try to feed the world, and we allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry into the United States without any kind of, um, vetting, which is check them out. We allow criminals in here. Recently in Georgia, we had a 22-year-old girl that was brutalized, killed. Now, he was by a Venezuelan man. Does that mean all Venezuelan men are bad? Does it mean all illegal aliens are bad? No. But you run the risk of people that aren't vetted, that aren't checked out. When you have a current administration that has an open door policy and allows millions of people, not tens of thousands, but millions of people. Um, so it's very, very important that that we have a closed border. We can have an area where they can be put in, like they were on Ellis Island, into a place where they learn things like the government. How does the legislative work? How does the executive work? How does the judiciary work? You have to take that in high school. It's required by law that everybody has to learn about that because we have a government that runs this country. You need to know how that works. You need to know how the judiciary system. There's one person I was speaking to that was in a corner. I told her she had to go to her governor. She would have to go to her congressman. If not, she'd have to go to the president of the United States and the Supreme Court. The Superior Court is what the dependency courts are part of. Superior Court also has the criminal courts and the other kinds of courts and so forth. Then each state has its Supreme Court, and the federal government has its Supreme Court. And with the politics happening, where one of the candidates is 91 cases against him, which is the most stupidest thing. If the people don't want him, they'll not vote him. Let the people vote in there. Why are we screening out people? He's not a mass murderer. He isn't a psychopath or something like that. He's a businessman. He knows how to run a business. He knows that. In fact, when I was under his administration, I had gas that was cheap. Right now, gas has gotten so expensive. You're talking $5 a gallon for gas here on the West Coast. You're talking milk now at $4.29 a gallon. It used to be $2.45 not too long ago. Bananas have come up from 55 cents to 69 cents. Loaf of bread used to be under $1. When I was real young, it was 29 cents, but now it's $2, $3 for a loaf of bread. And that hurts your pocketbook, especially on a fixed income. I'm 74 years now, and I'm trying to look for work again. I did have a job for some time, but I need to get work because I need to feed my family. I have an 18-year-old son that was 9 years old when he was involved in the CPS matters. So I have to take care of. I still have a 24-year-old son living at home, and I got, of course, my wife of 32 years, and she's been through so much. It's been so sad to see what has really hurt her. To have your mom and dad against you is a really heartbreaking. They didn't show up at our wedding a long time ago. We were see each other for 5 years. We decided to get married on Valentine's Day. We invited them for a magical wedding on an island, and they wouldn't even come. They wouldn't even express an interest or send the best regards or anything. They refused to come to her wedding. That hurt her. That's wrong how parents, shouldn't hurt each other. People got to stop this hurt in there because it affects everybody. Our families, go to the dinner table and there are the kids playing games. There are the parents looking at the news, looking at the TV shows, where it is. That's not a family get together. That's not a family meal. The phones have an answering service. Just put your phone to silent. There is not one phone call unless you're a CIA agent or an FBI agent or some critical job where you have to be let 24/7 like the president of the United States. So you need to silence the phones and sit there with your family and talk about matters and talk about things. You need to be supportive of your kids. You need to regulate their time on the social networks. There's so many kids that have been brutalized and killed and committed suicide because of what people do on the internet. The internet is not safe. There's a dark side of the internet. And, that can get you a lot of troubles out there. And CPS is one of those dark sides. I have no qualms that there may be some CPS workers who are nice that want to do something, but I've yet to meet one. I've yet to meet any social worker. I challenge anybody out there listening. If you got a social worker that thinks they're doing a good job with family reunification and protect our children, please call into my show. I love to interview a social worker. I love to see how they're doing it in their state and how they take care of the kids, how they keep the kids from being abused and so forth. So, with that all being said, um, it is important that 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 we take care of our family, regulate the use of the phones. There's no need to give a fully functional phone in sixth grade. They can have a phone that makes phone calls out or phone calls in or however you want to set it up, but you don't have to have a connection to the internet for them to play with it. You need to regulate where they're spending on. 2 weeks ago they had the Congress people interview all the CEOs of social media. There was TikTok, there was Twitter, there's X now. It's called X. There was MySpace, Instagram, Telegraph. Um, you know, there's all these social programs, and the one thing the Congress are asking is, how do you protect the kids? And not one of them really had an answer. I know Zuckerberg said he was sorry, but Elon Musk said nothing. It was really sad. It was really sad uh, that no one wanted to protect it. But the parents can protect the kids. They can say, "All right, I'm not allowing you to reach 18 to be on the internet or something." I don't want to go extreme because it's important for kids to do schoolwork and stuff. But I'm finding out that kids now are cheating in school by using the internet. I didn't realize how rampant it is, but you ask any kid, whether in college or something there, and that they're cheating. Well, that's going to hurt them later on when they come out in the real world and get a real job. And when they get a real job in the real world, they got to have those skills or that knowledge. They're going to be no good. If you cheated through medical school, how are you going to do open heart surgery? Um, you know, um, I think social workers, to be a good CPS social worker, I think you need to have a college degree in social services. You need to know how it works. I'm not saying a master's or PhD, but at least have a bachelor's um, degree in social services. Furthermore, I think you have to be background checked, and I think you have to have a certificate or a license that says that you're qualified to be a social worker. There are some states I've talked to that says that some workers do have to have a license or certificate. But right now they don't in Southern California and most places I talked out there too. They're doing they're now saying they're qualified to tell if a parent is mentally disabled or dysfunctional. They think they're clinical psychiatrists. Social services do have a clinical psychiatrist on their staff, but they're far and few. And I'm not saying they have to do that. Also, I think they'd be in a mentor program for 10 years to learn what it is about family reunification, knew how to protect children, what to see, and so forth. They need to have that. I mean, having someone at 22 entrusted with your life, that's scary. That's scary because anything you say you do will hurt. And the kids are hurt. My kids are so hurting right now. That one daughter that was coached, she was 12 at the time when she divorced her mom and dad, divorced her brothers, divorced her grandparents, divorced all her family members, sealed her birth certificate. Who would say that to her? See, someone was orchestrating that. Someone was brainwashing her. And then change her name to top it off. So she thinks her new name, her new foster care parents are great. You know, they're well to do. At that time, when I lost my job, I had to restrict my family to a Spartan lifestyle. I could no longer afford the Disneyland passes. And that frustrated my daughter because she was a Barbie girl living in a Barbie world. And it's all fancy out there. Money is not the answer. Yes, I know you need money to get a lawyer. You need money to do a lot of things. But, you know, um, money is not the answer. Money is not the answer. I like to have a warm heart and I like to help people out there. And I hope that by me talking about things of interest, but I need your help. I need your help to uh, text me questions, to call in to be a guest, or if you don't want to call in to be a guest, call my office and the 888 and ask to be a guest on one of my shows. Make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And lastly, I don't forget this very important rule number one: you should have an attorney. You need an attorney to navigate through the corruptness of CPS and their laws and stuff. They have a handbook. They don't follow their handbook. There's a lot of things you can catch them on that they don't follow. And so that's why if you want to talk to and get free legal advice, call in and speak to Vincent Davis. Vincent Davis, Mr. Davis, is a professional family detention law attorney. He has a trial background. He knows how to do trials. He's also won CPS cases and fought to have the kids returned. He has filed civil lawsuits and beaten CPS. So he's really experienced. And right now, he's offering a 30-minute up to a 1 hour of his time free of charge to talk about strategies to fight CPS and get your children back. All you do is call 888-888-6582. Tell them Bob Pace sent you and you want a free consultation with Mr. Davis. And when you see Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. So it's really important. So you need that attorney, just like you need a doctor with open heart surgery. I realize that attorneys are expensive with retainer fees, but I had to sell my home to get money. I mean, there's ways you can get money, and it's well worth the investment into a good lawyer because your public defender will not help you. They have caseloads of 20 or more. They're not knowledgeable. They don't want to fight. They're friends with social services and with the court. The court is terrible because the judge, the social services workers, the lawyers for the social workers, the public defenders, they all go out to have meals together. They all go out and play golf together. So it's a lousy system. So um, I want to thank all you people that showed some love. I want to thank Secured. I hope you file that 388 and get your kids back because that's wrong. Also, I hope to see all you there continue to fight your kids. Do not give up. Do not give up. That's what you want to do. So I want to wish you all much success and happiness in the new year. And God bless you. And this is Bob Pace uh, telling you, see you tonight. And as Bob Pace signing off.